Welcome to this session. It's been a long time since we've talked, and recently I've tried something and I believe it has really helped me. My wife is using it too now. I thought I would let you know. Before I actually go into details, though, I think I have to deal with models. You might want to say, well, what does models have to do with this? I am dealing with a model for health and disease. And I want to be specific about that because I remember what it was like when I was a child. My mother was quite specific about it. She said, if you're sick, you go to the doctor. The doctor knows about things like that. You don't. I remember that. It's almost as though that order has stayed with me all my life and turned into a motivation to create this, what I would probably call a research project that I get so much satisfaction from. In any case, the idea that I don't know and the doctor does not come from science. It does not come from experience. I mean, after all, I was a very young child when I heard those words. And it's not clear. I mean, certainly the people around us have believed in it. And I acted like I believed in it. And in fact, for those reasons, I was a pretty sick young black man for a long time. Now that I've gone to another model, I'm a lot happier. Now, why am I talking about the model? It's because when I look back at the way I reacted to my mother's order, which I believe is what it was, I took it as a religion. This is the gospel truth. I have to obey this. There are no exceptions. And in order to be part of this world, I have to agree to completely accept it. Well, it's hard to get me to think in terms of changing a religious belief, because that's the way I acted about this. I find it much more helpful to think about it as a model for reality. And I'm okay with examining models. I'm very happy with asking, well, does it help me heal? Am I better off for using it? Does it make sense to me? Now, I have to say that that particular order from many, many years ago no longer makes a whole lot of sense to me unless I have an emergency, which I did. I've discussed the kidney failure, and by gosh, when that happened, I followed the rules and was better off for it. But I use a different model, and I'm going to use that word because I always question it, than I don't know and the doctors do. In particular, the model I'm interested in right now is one which I am conscious. I partake of consciousness. My body is actually different, but we are very close partners and we talk a lot. My body relies on habits, relies on the partnership, and it also has learned to rely on me because I can come up with stuff that it doesn't know. It doesn't know where I got it. And honestly, to some extent, I don't know either. But I do it, and it does work. So I'm talking about this. The model I use includes the statement that the body's purpose is to heal disease and maintain good health. That's what it's here for. And if that fails, it will come for help. I have added to the model the ideas from Dr. Hulda Clark's book, The Cure for All Diseases, in which she says that disease is caused by toxins and parasites. I have to say that while there may be psychological factors, I find that particular model a very useful one. I'm going to stick with it. Let's assume it's true. If I ask how the cell communities in my body react with each other, I find myself discussing so much complexity that I haven't got a prayer of understanding it. And so I'm not going to do any great theoretical physics on this. However, if I compare the communities of cells, and of course cells always create communities, they just do it naturally, the way these communities of cells relate to each other, to simply, the nations on the face of the earth, or just all of the people on the face of the earth. I don't deal with them mostly. I live with them. Same true here. But there is one major difference between the cells and the body, the relationship, and the relationship between nations or individuals on the face of our globe. And it's critical. And here it is. Every parasite in this body is fed by the body's own blood supply. The body feeds every one of them. Does that strike you as odd for something that in fact does perhaps more harm than good? It strikes me that way. Now, that's an idealization, of course. If we can assume that the body knows what every cell group is doing at it every minute, then obviously it can come up with good categories and should be able to enforce them. But of course things aren't quite like that. On the other hand, if there are specific activities which are a little unusual, and in my case it showed up in tennis. Now, I've talked about my tennis some in the past. But one thing that has always been true up to the recent past has been that I will practice a lot, and I do. I do a lot of hitting against the wall, and I'm getting much better at it. When I go out on the court to play with a real opponent, and I'm really competing, I start making some really stupid mistakes. And there doesn't seem to have been anything I could do about it. I began to wonder, since my goal is to be good at tennis, is it possible that these parasites find it important to prove to me that I cannot achieve a goal that is of value to me? I have to be their total helpless slave. If that's true, can I give the body the assignment to watch my strokes? And when I do something that's obviously wrong, that I should never have done and know it, practically while I'm doing it, let the body see if there is some parasite group which has taken charge of it in a split second, taken it away from me, and given the order to do something that in fact I disagree with. So I've asked the body to watch for that, and when it sees it, to close the capillaries carrying blood to that parasite. Do it quickly and do it without recourse. The results have been interesting. Up till that point, I had been playing with one elderly man who was actually pretty good, and it was a pattern with us. He always won. I rarely won more than 1 or 2 games out of all of the ones we played, and so he always beat me. When I played after asking the body to watch for this, there was a strange shift in point of view. I saw him as a rather clumsy beginner, and I simply won every single game that afternoon. When we finished playing that day, he came up to me and said, "Richard, I'm having hip and spine problems. I can't play with you anymore." I accepted it, and I found some more advanced players to play with. Of course, they were more advanced, so I started losing all the time. But over time, I started doing some winning too, and I'm winning more often now. That's very satisfying. What if I try this for other activities in which I have goals, where I've consistently been unable to reach the goal that I want to reach? I have found several situations in which this has really helped me. And so here is the suggestion. Try it yourself. Excuse me. Remember the models. If you hold to a model that says disease and ill health, and perhaps poor mental performance too, is due to parasites and toxins, then to the extent that they're caused by parasites, you can require the body to watch for a parasite doing harm. When it sees it, to immediately cut off the blood supply to that parasite. I have to tell you, It's working very well for me. I suggest you try it.
It's really great, Richard.